Life in Melbourne is slowly getting back to normal. Either way, we're bringing yet another Harcourts, Rata & Co. opportunity. Alex Doucas, solicitor agent, proudly presents number 31 Seston Street here in Reservoir, or there rather, in Reservoir. A fantastic opportunity, 708 square metres of prime residential property in the heart of Reservoir, which has experienced so much capital growth. Now buyers, before we proceed, I'd like to share with you the following announcements which are in place to help you bid and buy with confidence. The auction will be conducted in accordance with the rules and any additional conditions that were made available for inspection before the start of the auction. The auction rules prohibit an auctioneer from accepting bids or offers for property after the property has been knocked down to the successful bidder. The vendors have a reserve price as the auctioneer will indicate bidders on request. The law prohibits false bids, prohibits major disruptions by bidders, and prohibits bidders attempting to prevent others from bidding, and provides for fines for such conduct. The rules permit for vendor bids. The words I'll use during the auction to indicate that I'm making a bid on behalf of the vendor are vendor bid, and by law only I, as the auctioneer, can make a vendor bid. Buyers, the contract's been provided to you prior to today's auction. It reads that today we sell Harcourts sales for on behalf of the vendor all that land together with any improvements described in the attached copy of title volume 8724 folio 711, or as it's more commonly known to you and I as number 31 Seston Street in Reservoir. Upon the fall of the hammer, we're calling for a 10% deposit. And we have on offer for you today an extremely flexible settlement of anywhere between 30 to 180 days. So a great opportunity for your family, a great opportunity for any investor, and perhaps an awesome opportunity for your next development, subject to council approval, of course. Either way you look at it, an unbeatable opportunity for you to bid and buy. You're with my team on the phone, give your instructions clearly. I'm here to help you along, to get you those keys. Where can I see a fair and reasonable starting bid for number 31 Seston Street in Reservoir? Who'd like to start us off? I don't mind the course. Start me where you like, guys. Where can I see a start now? At 850,000, bit light on, but I'll go with the 850 and 860 got now at 850 and 60 on top. At 860,000 now fairly been offered. At 860 the bid. At 860,000, 70 it's got to be. 870 now got. At 870,000 now through buys in at the moment at 870. At 870,000 now take 10 in the rise again if it helps. 880 make it, or perhaps rounding off to 9. At 870,000 now fairly been offered. At 80 got now at 880,000 with Andrews at 90 now straight. The quick retort at 90 now. At 890,000 which roses by against yours. Andrew for 900 in the rise. Gino, I haven't forgot about yours. At 890,000. At 890,000 now 900 got even money. At 900,000, 910 the quick retort again from Roses by shows confidence in that bidding, and confident bidding is a sign of a strong market. At 910,000 fairly been offered, and against you Andrew for 920 now if you like. At 910,000. At 910,000 fairly been offered at 910. At 910,000 now, what do you say, Andrew? At 910,000 buys which rose at the moment against Andrew's buyer and Gino's. At 910,000, at 20 got now 920,000. At 920,000, another trademark quick retort if you like, rose at 920 got fairly been offered. At 25 now, you sure on the stride? I'll go with you to keep you back, to keep you involved at 925. At 925 from the same courtesy to your buyer and your buyer Gino at 5 if they please. At 925,000 make it 30 in the rise at least. At 925,000 now. At 925,000 once. At 30 got now, 930. At 930,000 back against your buyer, Rose. A 5 still good with me, but a big bid will put him in good stead at this point in the proceedings. At 930,000, fairly been offered now. At 930 now. At 930,000 once. At 35 now, opportunity taken at 935 and against you, Andrew at 935 and 40 if they like. At 935,000. At 935,000, fairly been offered now, 935,000, set over 700 square metres at 945, and that's a great bid back up to 10s at 945. At 945, up the ante, Rose, up to your buyer if they want to meet them there, 945, make it 55 in the rise, but I will take 50 if it helps, at 945 now the bid. At 945,000. At 945,000 once. At 50 now. At 950,000 back against your buy range, perhaps entice them in for another 10. At 950,000. At 900. At 2.5 at 952,500 now 952.5 at 952,500 Rose. Tell your buyer when their competition goes high they have to bid big to buy. At 952,500 now 952.5 at 952,500 with Andrew's buy against yours Rose. At 952,500 Gino, what do you say? Your buyer still with us or not? At 952.5 now. At 952,500 once. At 952.5 are we done? At 952,500 twice. at 952 and a half. Done, finished. Third, final call at 952,555. Got it back against your buy now. Andrew at 955 and make it 60 perhaps in the rise. At 955,000 the bid. At 955,000 that'll update momentarily at 955 the bid. At 955,000 fairly been offered now at 955 and there goes the screen at 955. At 955,000 against your buy. Andrew now at 955,000 once at 955. At 955,000 twice at 955. At 955,000 for the third and final call at 955,000 against your buy, Andrew at 955. At 955,000, what do you say? Another 2.5, only 2,500 at this point. 955,000 got now at 955,000. Once at 955, all done at 955,000. At 957 now, and welcome at 957,000. At 957,000, fairly been offered now at 957 the bid with George's buy now at 957,000. At 959 now, and Andrew's back in at 959. At 959,000, so easy to run me off to 960, George. But tell him, don't be predictable. Give us a big, bold bid at 959,000. At 959,000 now, it's against your buy, George. One bid will not be enough for them here today. At 959,000, fairly been offered now once at 959. At 959,000 twice at 959. At 959,000 for the third and final call at 959,000. Awaiting instructions from Alex also at 959,000 against your buy, George. It's now or never at 959. At 959,000 first, second, third, at 60 now, an easy jump to 60 from 59. At 960,000. At 960,000 now, need instructions, Alex, just an update if you please. At 960,000. Excuse me. At 960,000 now, fairly been offered now, 960 the bid. At 960 and a half now. At 960,500, only $500 bids. At 960,500 should be very easy for your buyer to get back involved and back on top, George, at a $1,500 bid at 960 and a half, and they've got that courtesy at half if they like. Against Andrew's buy at 960,500. At 960.5. At 960,500 now, it's against your buy, George. At 960 and a half for the first call at 960,500. At 960,500, second call at 960,500. For the third and final call at 960,500. We're all done. All finished. Silent. Out at 960,500 the bid, George. What do you say? Don't want him to miss out at 960,500. George is asking for just a little bit more time. Granted, I know Silver at 962, and that's a good bid now. 962, and welcome back at 962. At 962,000, back against your buy, Andrew. At 962,000 now, fairly been offered now at 962 the bid. At 962, inching ever closer here today. At 962,000, not far away at all. Waiting on instructions from Alex at 962 and a half now, 962 and a half. At 962,500, George, tell you why, big, bold, big, dig deep at 962,500 now. At least run me off to 65 or 70 is better. At 962 and a half. At 962,500 the bid. For the first call at 962 and a half, are we done? At 962,500 twice at 962 and a half. Done. Finished. For the third and final call at 962,500. Are we all done? All finished? Silent? Out at 962 and a half. Well, we'll wait for your buy, George, at 962 and a half, just to make it and a half now at 963. At 963, waiting still on instructions from Alex and giving me the signal just to hold on just one moment. At 963. At 963,000. At 963,000 buys with George against your buy, Andrew now, and a half now at 963 and a half. At 963,500 now back against your buy, George, at 963 and a half now. At 963,500, make it 64, at least in the rise. 65 is much better, and 70 is better still. At 963,500, fairly been offered now at 963 and a half. At 963 and a half now once. At 963 and a half, are we done? At At 965, I think that's a great bid now. 965,000 the bid. At 965. At 965,000 with George's buyer again against yours, Andrew. At 965,000, fairly been offered now at 965. At 965,000 once. At 965. At 965,000 twice. At 965. At $965,000 the bid. Third, final call at 965. Are we all done? At 966 now, 966 back with Andrew's buyer, back against yours, George. At 966,000. At 966,000, round me off to 70, George. At 966. At $966,000 the bid now. 966,000 is going to be 70 in the rise. At 966,000, Andrew's so nervous with his buy on the phone, he started smoking again. Stopped for a week or so there. At 966,000, but Andrew, don't quit quitting. At 966. At 966,000 against your buy, George. At 966. At 966,000 is going to be at least one in the rise, but 7.5 now. At 966.5. At 966,500 back against you, Andrew. At 966,500 fairly been offered now. At 966.5. At 966,500. Thankfully for the bidding here today. At 966.5 against your buy, Andrew. Still an opportunity though if they want to get back involved in the proceedings and try and get those keys. At 66.5, it's with George's buyer against Andrew's. Rose has told me that they're out. At 966,500, Alex need instructions. At 966.5 now. First call at 966.5 done. Twice at 966.5 done. Finished. Third final call at 966,500 the bid. All done. All finished. Silent and out at 966.5. Well, buyers, we've come to that moment and a half now, 967. At 967, I was going to take a break, but I got a $5,000 bid back with Andrew's buyer, who told me they were out, but back in they are, because they know that an opportunity not taken is an opportunity missed. At 967,000. At 967,000, now your buyer, George, has that same opportunity. At 967,000, let's make sure they don't miss out. At 967,000. At 967,000 now once. At 967. At 967,000 twice. At 967. At 967.5 now. At 967.5 and surely 970 beckons. At 967,000. At 967.5 rather. $1,000 at 967,500. At 967.5 now back with George's buyer. Back against your buy, Andrew, at 968.5 now. At 968.5 and make it 70 in the rise, George. At 968.5, Alex still waiting on instructions. At 968,500 the bid. At 968.5 now. At 968,500 with Andrew's buyer against George's buyer. Opportunity here at 968,500. Make it 970, George, in the rise. At 968.5 now. At 968,500 once. At 968.5 done. At 968,500 twice. At 70 now, and a great bid at that at 970,000. At 970 the bid. At 970,000 buyers back with George now against your buyer Andrew at 970,000 fairly been offered. At 970,000. At 970,000 the bid now at 970. Still waiting on instructions from Alex at 970. At 970,000 now, even money at that at 970 the bid. At 970,000, got to be at least 71 in the rise. At 970, there's the bid once. At 970, we done. At 970,000 twice. At 970, we done. Finished. Third, final call at 970,000. All done. All finished. Silent and out at 970,000. What do you say? And a half now at 970 and a half. At 970,500 the bid now. 970.5 is back against your buy, George. At 970,500. At 970,500, still waiting on instructions from Alex at 970.5. At 970,500 now. At 970.5, and Alex is telling me that we're very close. Please give that instruction to your buy, George, that we are extremely close. At 970,500, would hate for them to miss out at this end, at this pointy end of the auction where it counts. At 970,500 the bid. Got to be at least half in the rise at 970.5 now. At 970,500 the bid. At 970,500 once. At 970.5. At 970,500 twice. At 970.5. At at 970,500 the bid. For the third and final call at 970,500 the bid. Are we all done? Are we finished? Silent it out at 970,500. George needs to know at 970 and a half. Is that all they have? At 970,000 and a half now at 971. At 971 the bid. At 971,000 once at 971. At 971,000 twice at 971. At 971,000 for the third and final call at 971,000 the bid. Are we all done? Finished? Silent it out at 971. Well guys, if you just bear with me one moment, I do need to seek some instructions from our vendor together with the listing agent Alice, and we will be back momentarily. Thank you. Well guys, a very quick conversation, very clear instructions. We had a reduction in the reserve price because we want to get the job done here today. Our vendors want to get the job done here today. Now we're not quite there just yet, but I can tell you we are this close. And if there's no further bidding, we are going to deal only with the highest bidder, and that bidder will have the only right to purchase at that vendor's now reduced at 972 and a half we've got now, and that right has changed hands now at 972 and a half, and we're inching ever closer, so close now at 972,500. George, let your buyer know if they don't bid now, they will miss out. 972,500. We're only going to deal with the highest bidder, and we are extremely close to getting this property on the market and sold under the hammer at 972,500. It's against your buyer George at 972 and a half now at 972,500. Make it 975 in the rise, George, at 972,500 the bid. At 972 and a half now, fairly been offered at 972 and a half. At 972,500 once. At 972 and a half, are we done? At 972,500 twice. At 972 and a half, done. Finished. Third. Final call at 972,500 the bid. George asking for just a little bit more time. Inclined to give it at 972,500. Always difficult to make the right decision under these conditions, in these circumstances, but want to make sure that you've got ample time at a half now at 973, at 973,000, at 973,000, it's back against your buyer Andrew now, and a half now at 973 and a half, at 973,500, make it 75, and George in the rise, at 973 and a half, the buyers, the bids against your buyer George, at 973,500 the bid, at 973,500, Alex still receiving live instructions from the vendor, at 973,500, now fairly been offered. At 975 and a good bid at that, at 975, and puts us even closer yet. At 975,000. At 975,000 buyers there with George against your buyer Andrew at 75. At 975,000, fairly been offered now at 975 once. At 975 are we done, and a half now at 975 and a half. At 975 and a half now, George, let your buyer know they've got their competition down from $2,500 bids to $1,500 bids. This is when they have to up the ante, raise the stakes, take me to 780, at 980, George. At 975,500 the bid now. At 975 and a half now. It's against your buyer, George. A big bid might just do it for him now. At 975,500 the bid for the first call. At 975 and a half, are we all done? At 975,500 now twice. At 975 and a half, are we done and finished? At 975,500 and 500 now at 976 the bid. At 976,000. At 976,000 now fairly been offered at 976 the bid. At 976,000 bids with George's buy again, Andrew, back against yours in half now at 976 and a half. At 976,500 now, and a half now, the quick retort at 977. At 977,000 now, back against you, Andrew. At 977,000, fairly been offered now at 977 and 77 and a half now. At 977,500. At 977 and a half now, and make it rounding off to 80, George. At 977,500 the bid. At 977,500, 978 now. At 978. At 978,000 half now, 978 and a half. At 978,500. At 978,500 the bid, rounding off to 80. At 978,500 now the bid. At 978,500, 980 beckons. At 978 and a half now once. At 978 and a half we're done. At 978,500 twice. At 979, sorry George, I missed that bit. At 979,000. At 979,000 with George. At 979 and 979 and a half, and there's nowhere to hide. It's got to be 980 in the rise. At 979,500 the bid. At 979,500. At 979,500 and a half now. At 980 now the bid. At 980,000, final instruction from Alex, please. At 980,000. Alex, Andrew, another half if they like. At 980,000 and 980,000 now the bid. At 980,000, fairly been offered now. At 980,000. At 980,000 now, fairly been offered once at 980. At 980,000 twice at 980. It's with you, George, at 980,000. They can strengthen their position though if they like, George. I won't knock back a bid. At 980,000, Alex, I need final instructions now. At 980,000. At 980,000 now once at 980 are we done. At 980,000 twice at 980. Done. Finished. Third. Final call at 980,000. Are we all done? All finished. Signing it out at 980,000. Alex, what do you say? 980,000 need to know. 980,000. Andrew, is your buyer still with us? At 980,000 the bid. Definitely out at 980,000. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to give him a moment to think about it, Andrew. I'm going to go and consult with the vendor just one last time, and I will be back momentarily. Thank you. Well, buyers, thank you once again for your patience. Again, fresh instructions from the vendor. Now, we were close before, but we are so much closer now. At 980,000, again, we're not quite there just yet, but at 980,000, the instructions are clear. We're to deal with the highest bidder. That bidder will have the first and exclusive right to purchase the property from the vendor at the vendor's reserve price. And given that we've just set a new reserve price much closer to 980,000, my feeling is that shortly thereafter, we will be celebrating that success with the highest bidder. So if you are out there to buy, and in particular to your buyer Andrew and your buyer Rose, if you are out there to buy, now is the time that I need you to show me your interest in order for you to put yourself in the best position to get those keys today. At 980,000, I'll put it back to you for 3 further calls now. At 980,000, for the first call at 980, are we done? At 980,000, second call at 980, done. Finished. Third, final call at 980,000, are we all done, all finished, signing it out at 980,000. Oh, buyers, my instructions are clear. George, congratulations to your buyer. They have the right to negotiate with the vendor at the reserve price to the exclusion of every other buyer here today. So if you do have interest in the property, we will need to wait until those negotiations are finalised, which I'm sure are going to end in a successful result. However, if you do have questions or interest in the property, please be sure to contact Alex Doucas, soliciting agent. I'm going to be back on your screens in about 1 minute's time. We've got our last online auction of the day coming up for a lumber drive in Epping, and I'll see you shortly. Thank you.